All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, and, well, I guess you could say diving into the deep end of the pool, huh?
Into the deep end, yeah.
Yeah, Manchester United in their new era with Ruben Amorim at the helm and how they're going to handle this match coming up against Arsenal. We've got some great articles from Sky Sports here, really breaking it all down.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff. It's a very fascinating time to be a Man U fan with Amorim coming in. You look at his early results, a draw and 2 wins. Not bad, eh?
Not bad at all.
It seems pretty decent, right?
Pretty decent, yeah. But I think what we're going to get into is that this match with Arsenal is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
A huge step up in competition.
Oh, yeah. And, could be a sign of things to come, or maybe just a honeymoon period. We'll see.
Well, and, Amorim himself said, and I'm quoting here, "The storm will come for Man U, even with this early winning streak."
Right.
So what do you think he means by that? Is he just being cautious, realistic?
I think he's trying to, manage expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting what he's saying about his approach.
Yeah.
He's been very transparent in saying, look, I haven't had time to really drill these guys on, really complex tactics. So we're keeping things pretty simple.
Right.
Which has worked so far, against some of these weaker teams. But you come up against a side like Arteta's Arsenal.
Yeah.
With the way they play, the intricate passing, the movement, that simplicity might be their downfall.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to outsmart a chess grandmaster by just moving your pawns forward. A bold strategy.
A bold strategy, yeah, for sure.
But, the Sky Sports piece also pointed out how they really struggled to adapt when Everton switched tactics mid-game.
Yeah, exactly. It really sort of highlighted the fact that they are quite reliant on this kind of structured system at the moment, which, to be fair, I mean, you can understand that given how much time he's had. But again, you come up against a team like Arsenal, they can shift gears so easily, find different ways to attack.
Yeah.
That lack of flexibility could really hurt them.
Yeah. Makes you wonder if the pressure at Man U, from the fans, the media, is that going to give Amorim that same breathing room that, say, Arteta got at Arsenal? You think back to some of those early periods, those rocky periods.
Absolutely, yeah.
He was almost sacked.
Almost sacked.
But they stuck with him. And look at them now.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
You think Amorim is going to get that same patience?
It's a great question, and I think it's something that he's very aware of. I mean, he's even said that Man U demands success faster than Arsenal did.
Right.
And Sky Sports highlighted the way that the media is already sort of scrutinizing everything he does.
Oh, yeah. Every little decision.
Every single decision. And, you could argue that's a little bit unfair for a manager who's still finding his feet. But then again, welcome to Old Trafford.
Yeah, different level of intensity there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For sure. But these two managers have faced off before, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
A couple seasons back, Europa League.
Yeah.
And Amorim's sporting team actually beat Arteta's Arsenal.
He did.
So, tactically speaking, is there anything that he could take from that victory, apply it now?
I mean, it's interesting because while obviously both teams have evolved a lot since then, what was really fascinating even back then was that, Amorim's team showed that ability to disrupt Arsenal's build-up play by targeting specific passing lanes, and they weren't afraid to press high and force errors.
Yeah.
And even today, a lot of teams are hesitant to do that against this Arsenal side.
Right.
So whether that same approach would work again against this much improved Arsenal side, that's a whole other question.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that improved Arsenal side, talk about a transformation, right?
No, it's incredible, isn't it, today?
They went from kind of a bit of a mess to, genuine title contenders. What's been the key to that turnaround? Is it just the players he's brought in? Is there more to it than that?
It's definitely more than just personnel. I think Arteta's instilled a real philosophy, a playing style that's built on controlling possession, fluid movement, a real commitment to pressing high and winning the ball back quickly.
Yeah.
And he's created this system where, it really is a case of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. Even the critics would admit they're a joy to watch now.
Oh, for sure.
They're a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, and it's not just pretty to watch, right? They're getting results. Some pundits even argue that Arteta's Arsenal has lost some of that traditional Arsenal DNA, that emphasis on just beautiful flowing football at all costs. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. I think while they definitely still have that attacking flair, Arteta's definitely he's added a layer of kind of pragmatism and tactical flexibility. I mean, they can grind out a 1-0 win when they need to, and that's something that we didn't always see in the Wenger era.
Right.
A great example is the way they use their fullbacks. They kind of invert into midfield to create overloads, which makes them really difficult to defend against.
Right.
It's subtle, but incredibly effective.
So facing this well-drilled, tactically astute Arsenal side, what's Amorim's best bet? Right. Is there a weakness that he can exploit?
Well, one thing that stood out to me from the Sky Sports analysis was that they can be vulnerable on the counterattack.
Okay.
Especially if teams can bypass that initial press. So if Man U can be really quick and decisive in transition, maybe hit them with some direct balls over the top, they might be able to catch Arsenal out of position.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But even if Amorim pulls off a tactical masterclass, it still comes down to the players, right? Executing the plan. And let's be honest, I mean, Man U's squad is still a little bit of a work in progress.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's where that pressure that we were talking about comes into play, right? I mean, if the players aren't confident, if they're second-guessing themselves because of the weight of expectation, even the best game plan can completely fall apart.
It's almost like this match is a crossroads moment for Amorim and for Man U.
Yeah.
A win, especially a convincing one, could totally change the narrative. But some might say that even a draw against a team like Arsenal at this stage would be a good result. Do you buy that?
It's tempting to think that way, but I'm not so sure. I mean, a draw might feel like a moral victory in some ways, but it also could create that sense of kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, which has been hanging around Old Trafford for a while now, hasn't it?
Right, so maybe a draw isn't enough to really calm the storm.
Exactly. And remember, the pressure at Man U isn't just about results, it's about style as well. It's about living up to the club's legacy of, this attacking, dominant football. A scrappy draw might get you a point, but it won't necessarily silence the doubters.
Okay, so let's play out a couple of scenarios here. Let's say against all odds, Amorim orchestrates a victory against Arsenal. What kind of impact would that have on his tenure at Man U?
Oh, it would be huge. I mean, imagine the headlines. Amorim outfoxes Arteta. New era dawns at Old Trafford.
Right.
A win like that would buy him so much capital with the fans, with the media, with the board. It would be a real statement that this team, under his leadership, is capable of leading the best.
And on the flip side, if they lose, especially if it's a heavy defeat, how does that change things?
Well, the knives would be out, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the media would have a field day. The Amorim brigade on social media would go into overdrive. The pressure would be immense. And it would raise questions about whether he's really the right man to rebuild this team.
It's amazing how one single match can have such a seismic impact,
Yeah, and that's what makes football so captivating, right? It's not just about tactics and formations. It's about psychology. It's about narrative.
Right.
It's about the weight of history.
Well, let's dive a bit deeper into that historical context then, because when these two clubs meet, it's not just about the points on the table. It's about decades of rivalry, of iconic moments, of legendary players. Do you think that adds an extra layer of pressure for both teams?
Oh, absolutely. You can't underestimate the psychological impact of all those historical battles.
Right.
Players grow up watching these games, dreaming of scoring the winning goal in a Man U Arsenal clash.
Yeah.
And the fans, well, for them, it's more than just a game. It's a matter of tribal pride.
So we've got this new manager trying to make his mark at one of the biggest clubs in the world, a clash against a title contender that could make or break his season, and the added weight of this historic rivalry. No pressure then.
No pressure at all. But in all seriousness, it's the kind of game that you circle on the calendar the moment the fixtures are announced.
Right.
It's a game that can define a season, make careers, and create memories that last a lifetime.
Yeah, it's going to be electric, that's for sure. For everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has really given you a good sense of all that's riding on this game, the tactical battles that we might see unfold, and that pressure cooker that Amorim's walking into.
Absolutely. And the broader context as well, right? I mean, we're not just talking about one game here. We're talking about two clubs at very different points in their journeys, two managers, contrasting styles, and of course, this rivalry that's woven into the fabric of English football.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. So thinking about everything that we've talked about, what stands out to you as the most intriguing element of all of this? I mean, is it Amorim's tactical approach against this high-flying Arsenal? Or is it that weight of expectation at Man U?
What really fascinates me is this contrast in timelines. I mean, you look at Arteta, he was given time to build, to experiment, even to fail at times.
Yeah.
And Amorim he's almost expected to deliver instantly.
Right.
And it just raises this question, does modern football, especially at a club like Man U, allow for that kind of patience anymore?
It's such a good point. I mean, and it makes you wonder, even if Amorim does pull off a win against Arsenal, does that really buy him that long-term stability?
Right.
Or is that pressure always going to be there just, lurking beneath the surface?
It's almost like he needs to win and win with style.
Right.
To really silence those doubters. A scrappy 1-0 victory might get the points, but it won't necessarily convince people that he's the man to bring Man U back to those glory days.
Yeah. So let's wrap up here by throwing this out to our listeners. Imagine Amorim decides to play it safe against Arsenal. He focuses on defending, tries to nick a goal on the counterattack. Does that pragmatic approach, even if it gets a result, does it really fit that Man U DNA? Or does it just kind of reinforce this idea that they've lost their attacking identity? Something to ponder as we see how this all unfolds.
A lot to think about.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's going to be an absolute cracker of a match, and we'll be back soon to break it all down.